I convene the Lisle Library District Personnel and Policy Committee meeting on Thursday, October 26, 2023 at 7 o'clock p.m. Jackie, could you please call the roll?
Marjorie Bartelli, absent. Emily Swistak.
Here.
Karen Larson.
Here.
Vanessa Berry.
Here.
Tatiana Weinstein.
Here.
Will Savage, absent.
Thank you. Item agenda number 2 is opportunity for visitors to speak, the general public comment period. Seeing as we have none, we will move on to agenda item number 3, approve minutes of the August 29th, 2022 Personnel Policy Committee meeting. Can I have a motion and a second, please?
I move to approve the minutes of the August 29th, 2022 Personnel Policy Committee meeting.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Emily Swistak.
Aye.
Karen Larson.
Aye.
Vanessa Berry.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Item agenda number 4, policy 340, internet access and public computer use discussion. I'm going to turn it over to the director.
Okay, so just for the benefit of our 2 new members of the Personnel and Policy Committee, what I do every year is I look through the policy manual, I see if there are any policies that need better wording, if there's ever any new legislation that affects our policies, we will update our policies, and then other things that occur, like something occurs in the library where staff are like, why don't we have a policy about this? We may add to an existing policy or create a whole new one. So that's kind of how it works. In the packet, I know it's a lot of paper, but what I do to make it easier for trustees is I provide the current policy, then I provide a draft policy which has a lot of strikeouts and just shows the work, and then there's a clean copy for easier reading. So we're going to start with policy 340. I'm not going to go over the current policy because there's nothing changed there, but we can move on to the draft, and I don't go over every strikeout and every line here. I'm just going to give an overview of the edits. It's kind of general, and then after I go over the overview, we'll open it up for discussion on any of the changes. So in policy 340, it's about public access to the internet via, using the library. There's an updated introduction. The next paragraph is completely struck out, but that has been moved to other areas within the updated policy. So it's whatever's in there, the content has been changed and moved into other areas. And especially this second paragraph that's been struck out, it was moved to item E2, but we'll get there in a minute. Changed the letter A's header to patron expectations. Under A2, this is important as we move forward through this policy, equitable access to public computers. B, we just had some better wording here. Item C is new, and this is the important part. I had meetings with my department directors. We do this every week, and when we talked about this policy, this has been something since the renovation they'd like changed, where they would like to have the youth services equipment, meaning computers, for youth and their caregivers, and then upstairs in adult services, those for adults. And this first introductory paragraph is kind of what we're talking about. Each department has age-appropriate materials, equipment, and then the professional staff who handle those demographics. So that's why they wanted this in a policy, and so that's going to be up for discussion. I was on a call with our attorney on another topic, but I did slip this one in because I wanted to make sure, because there's a couple of schools of thought about this. Because some libraries do prohibit adults from even being in a youth services department, and that's really not kosher because it's a public library, and people like me who don't have children should be able to go into a youth service department and pick. I love children's books and read children's books, and I love the artwork, and able to go into a department. However, we also want to make sure that there's a safety factor in the youth services department, because there's been incidents in other libraries where there have been some kind of bad actors in youth services departments, non-parents or whatever. The other thing about this is that we want to make sure that we're equitable to everyone. So when I talked to the attorney, he said, it's completely fine because you have equipment in both departments that are kind of equitable. We have computers upstairs, we have computers downstairs. It's not like we're stopping anyone from accessing the internet or computers.
Right.
So having a policy like this is absolutely legal.
Okay.
So we'll move on from there, but we can come back to it. Item D just has better wording for staff assistance and instruction. Item E is just retitled to user awareness. And then number 2 there is where the LLD assumes no responsibility. That got moved there. Item 4 is something that was asked by our department directors, is to add an example of what we talk about in terms of deeming something inappropriate. And so we've included the language of like pornography, hate speech, or material that might incite or depicts graphic violence. Because, and this mostly happens in the adult department, you know, there might be some questionable material being viewed, and so having something in a policy that better describes what we mean I could help staff, you know, point to a policy and say it's in our board approved policy. Okay, and then moving to F, not a lot changed here. I just crossed out the bottom bullet point. It's just redundant to the information that is in the introductory sentence, because it talks about our code of conduct and behavior up there. It's just a redundant sentence. And then G is renamed to policy violation, and it's just a more clear way of referencing the policy details, because it used to say any policies above, and it's just the same policy. Okay, so that's kind of the quick and dirty of the changes, and we can start from the beginning, and I will work on the clean sheet and make any edits that you suggest.
Okay.
Or if there's any questions.
So typically what I do at this point is I ask the committee members if they have any comments, questions, concerns, edits, anything like that, so that everyone can give their input. And then the goal at the end of the discussion on this policy, we don't vote on anything here, there's no action required, but then it's me saying, okay, do we feel comfortable preparing or having this policy go to the board at the next meeting? And then if we all say yes, or we say no, we want to wait, or whatever it is, and then our consensus makes the decision, and then it's brought to the next board meeting, or not if we feel like we need more time with it. Okay? So, Karen, do you have anything that you want to add, or do you have questions?
No, the only thing, like, what do you, older teens and adults on page 9, use of youth services? I mean, like, I can just see somebody going, but I am a teen. You know, what, I mean, is there an age limit?
We talked about this, and that's a good question, because we didn't want to be too specific. We were just thinking older teens, like 16 and above, but we didn't want to restrict it too much. It's really just to separate the very young from the much older.
Well, and I could see there being like a really mature 14-year-old who wants the quieter environment versus like you want to tell the 10-year-olds that are running in circles, hey, you need to be down in children's services. And
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So it wouldn't be like that they would be asking for identification, like how old are you?
No,
It's just
no. It's really just trying to separate the populations for noise and safety reasons and all of that.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Okay.
And they're still monitored then when they're up in adult services, right? They would
Yeah,
be.
I mean, again, it's up to the committee if you want to put like an age restriction. We're trying to keep it a little bit more general because we don't want to police it too much.
No, I don't think an age restriction, but if they're up in adult services using the computers, they'll be kind of monitored, right?
If they're
The staff
young
desk
kids.
is right
Staff
there.
is
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
reference
Oh,
desk
okay.
up there.
Yeah.
If there are young children up there, they would, I'm talking like 7, 8-year-old kids who may have come in. They generally don't on their own. They want to be downstairs in the kids department. But if they came up, they would be, gently told, these services departments downstairs, we've got a bunch of computers down there for you, and then walk them down.
Okay. Yeah,
Sounds good.
no.
And then for the, I like that like youth services restricted to children and teens and their caregivers.
Mhm.
Is it mainly like another general guideline where if you see just an adult by themselves, they want to be able to say, hey, it doesn't look like you're with a kid.
Yes.
Go upstairs.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So looking on the clean
And then-
copy, I'm gonna say something about the spacing from B to C, the justification, you see it?
I do.
Oh, for just continuity, see how here, it's over here, but then
Oh,
here it's tabbed
yeah.
in,
Yeah, okay.
so whatever. Just, you know me with continuity.
Yes,
No, I really actually enjoy that because I'm not one to catch them, but then they drive me crazy
Yeah.
when I.
So then D has it too, and then so does G. But see all the rest of them that don't have, I don't know, whatever you
Say
wanna do
D?
it. Well, look at,
Yes,
so D,
yes,
but then.
I see it.
But
I
then
see
E has this paragraph in, but then F doesn't, so whatever you wanna do.
Oh, it's the way it's tabbed,
As long as it's
line.
Uniform.
Same,
uniform,
yeah.
then that
Yeah.
would be great, cause even then A, then if that would need to be in too.
That's easy.
Whatever you wanna do, just in the same format.
I'm wondering if
That's how I
under
am.
It's okay.
under E4, where you've got the examples of things, I wonder if we should add a like, this doesn't cover everything, kind of at the library's discretion.
I think that's covered with the such as,
Okay.
where it says,
Such as, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
a permit for public space such as, so those are the examples, but it's not all of it, it's just giving some examples. I think that's what you were going for, right, with the such as, was to
Mhm.
cover that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so do you want it, do you think, Vanessa, that it would be better to be like including but not limited to, or something
Yeah,
like
something
that?
like
Would that
that.
feel
Ooh,
better
that
to
would be-
you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
like
like
that.
Got it. 2, got it.
And then if we do that, it's more words, which would probably make it stand out more too, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Do you see in F, the second bullet point, there's still the strikeouts with alteration and of.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that we see in this policy that we think needs to be adjusted, or we think something else needs to be added, or
I think it's pretty
or
comprehensive.
feeling
Yeah, I
good
think
as it
it's-
is? Okay, so are we
Yeah.
comfortable putting this one forth to the whole board at the next meeting?
Yep.
Okay, awesome, okay, so one down, 3 to go. All right, so, agenda item number 5 is policy 610, patron code of conduct discussion. Director Weinstein, okay.
So this was last updated in 2019, so it's not super old. And so we didn't add a ton, but we did enhance it for some occurrences that have happened since 2019 that we would like more clarity on. So in number 2, we added some behaviors here, and we eliminated something that was not a behavior. So pervasive odor is not a behavior. That got removed, and we added vaping, solicitation, proselytization, and invasion of privacy, because those are things that we've encountered more recently that weren't included here. And we do have the but are not limited to in this sentence, but we wanted to emphasize these things are not, are behaviors that are not accepted. So that's number 2, it got changed. Number 5, we added use of cannabis as well as consumption there, just to better clarify what we mean. Then in number 8, this one's a tricky one, because I think this was in here prior to, before I became director, and hygiene was always a like tricky legal word to use in a policy. And so this number 8 is now strictly attire. And we're talking, it used to say just shirts and shoes, but then we would get, well, are pants required, and those kind of things. So that's why it's been changed to conforming to the standards of the community for public non-recreational spaces, meaning like not a bathing suit.
Yeah.
And then talks about shoes and clothing that cover the shoes and clothing that covers the torso.
I want to come back to that
Oh,
when we
okay.
get to the discussion.
That's fine. And then we got rid of the hygiene. And then number 9, this is where we talk about odor. And so we want to talk about odor that affects behavior and the enjoyment of the library. And so pervasive, offensive odor, now this doesn't have to be like body odor, it could be like skunk, or it could be like you're covered in gasoline, something like that.
Or you're wearing like insanely strong perfume.
Right, something like that. And so if I'm sitting next to you with like, I got sprayed by a skunk, it would affect your ability to have an enjoyable time at the library. So that's what this is referencing, and then there's a sentence that says staff may request that patrons change locations within the facility, or depending on severity, may be asked to leave the building. And I'm wondering if staff may request or maybe suggest, I don't know, I put an extra note in there, so we can come back to that one. Number 10 just added use of the library to sporting equipment, so like we're not only talking about obstructing doors, we're talking about don't put your skateboard on top of the table by the computers, so your use of the library. And then number 2 is new, and this was asked by our department directors because we're not specifically talking about like destruction or like graffiti, but treating materials with some kindness and not just being really rough with the like mouse and moving them. So we wanted something in there about treating equipment carefully. And then number 13 was also recommended by our department directors, instead of typical household, make it personal activities, such as, instead of typical household. Because one of them said, well, reading is my typical household activity, so I'm like, right, I don't know. But so is personal activity, I don't know, it really doesn't matter. To me, it made sense, but they wanted it changed, so I said sure. Number 16 is a big one. This is one that happens a lot, where we have people in the building either circulating petitions or asking for signatures on anything, or I've got this survey, or they maybe want to hand out items. So we wanted to enhance this one just a bit. It's reworded to say circulating petitions, surveys, distributing, posting, literature, dispensing products or food, because this has occurred where someone walked around with a bag of snacks, or campaigning is not allowed. And then it's just reworded, the 15 feet away from the door is reworded. I think it's a better way to say it instead of saying within 15 feet of the, and then down at the bottom, the promotional furniture. This got brought up because I had a patron ask me, and she asked ahead of time, I have a petition, and I'd like to, ask for, signatures. And I said, that's absolutely fine, as long as you're 15 feet away from the door, not obstructing people. But she said, and I said, you can't have, table or chairs or a tent or something like that. And she's like, well, I need a stool to sit on because I have some mobility issues. So I took chairs out of here and I said promotional furniture. So like that's not, I don't know how else to describe it, but you can't have a table. You can't have a tent. But if you need a chair to sit on because you're struggling, and maybe you have like one of those stools in your car, I don't know. But that's just up for discussion. So I changed that. Number 21, this is changed because we do allow cell phone use if it's kind of a quick use at a public PC now. Again, the department directors, we all talked about this, but it should not disturb others like for an extended period of time. So we've enhanced this to describe loud conversations, disruptive noises, and things like that. I think that's it. Yes.
Okay. Can we go back to number 8?
Yes.
Which is kind of like the dress code thing. So the only thing that concerns me with saying that covers the torso is that a lot of school districts now have gotten away from that. And so they still have dress codes where it's like your undergarments need to be covered, but a lot of the clothing, say for girls now, is tops, bellies are exposed, and that's just what's available, and that's what they're wearing. So there would be kids who would be going to school completely fine within dress code at their school, and then coming here and being told, no, you can't come in here because your belly's exposed. So that's a concern for me with this saying that covers the torso.
So we could say the majority of the torso, like what would you rather it say?
So
How do they word it?
I'm trying to think of how they word it. It's like, it talks about undergarments must be covered, and that certain, like, I don't remember, I should look
Do
it
you,
up.
yeah, do you want me to look it up?
But like,
It's
like,
just it's so
some of
different
the-
now.
Some
Yeah.
of the kids, they show the rim of the undergarment.
Yeah,
with
so,
the pants.
right, which we don't necessarily want to see, right? So my kids are in 203.
Yeah, let's see what 202 says.
But like it got away from it, especially because a lot of times it was more penalizing towards girls and boys. So this just says students must wear tops, bottoms, and shoes. Clothes must be worn in a way that genitals, buttocks, and nipples are fully covered with opaque, non-transparent material. That's it.
Tops, bottoms, and shoes, maybe? So, such as wearing tops, bottoms, and shoes?
Mm-hmm. So, and it also goes in, that's like the new stuff, right? Like, I mean, it also like talks about like undergarments must be covered, and then also like for schools, there's no things with, you can't have like sexual innuendos on your clothing or like
Or-
drugs, alcohol, weapons, like that kind of stuff, which is not the case for here, right?
And-
Because we're a public facility.
And I mean, when you want to, yes, and the undergarments thing, I mean, if someone's wearing like a.
It does say bra straps can be, visible straps are allowed.
I don't know if we want to get to.
Right, which I don't think we need to do,
Yeah.
but what this said that covers the torso is what jumped out at me, especially because of the change in, at least in 203's
Well, and I
dress
know,
code.
like, I used to have major issues with the dress code for my daughter because she's so tall and her legs are so long, so her shorts, like,
They're short.
there's no way
Yeah.
to buy shorts that are long enough
Yeah.
for dress code.
Yeah,
Okay, so the 202 says, showing skin and/or undergarments in a manner deemed inappropriate may not be worn at school.
It's pretty vague.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then, students are expected to wear clothing in a neat, clean, and well-fitting manner while on school
Wow.
property.
Well, that's more strict than,
Yeah.
That's pretty strict.
than 203's is, so.
I like
Yeah,
tops,
students-
bottoms, and shoes.
Yeah.
Me too. Students are to use discretion in their dress and are not permitted to wear apparel that causes a substantial disruption in the school environment.
Okay, yeah. So really, so I feel like if we said tops, bottoms, and shoes.
Shoes.
Yeah.
And it does say non-recreational, so you're not wearing like a bikini top.
Right,
Right, yeah.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
I
That's
think
a
that covers
good
it.
recommendation.
I feel better about that, just because, again, like, I see the high school kids all the time, and like, then they wouldn't be able to come in,
Yeah.
right? So, okay. Thank you. And then I appreciate the adding of vaping and all that. I feel like the
Yeah.
last, I mean, because we worked on this policy in 2018 and 2019, and I was on the committee both of those times, and those weren't really commonplace, so it's nice to
Yeah.
have that added in. And then I appreciate the moving the odor, hygiene, the odor out from behaviors to its own separate thing. That I think that
Yeah, and I
is
like
helpful.
changing it to pervasive offensive odors.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like singling out
Mhm.
body odor.
In 13, where
Oh,
the
for the
yeah, go
odor.
ahead.
Yeah.
What number is that?
9.
9.
Odor,
Oh,
9.
9.
So do we want to say may request or suggest?
Oh.
Yeah.
Do we want suggest instead of request? Or do we like request?
Well, I think it's may, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
they may request. I mean, if
Okay.
it is disrupting
Right, okay.
Yeah, and
other
I think
people's.
suggest kind of implies that you don't have to follow it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, request it is.
In 13, where the strikeout for typical household instead changed to personal, I feel like this is more like personal care activities as opposed to just personal activities.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we can write care, or if there's some other
Yeah, I
way to
think, like-
express that.
Personal care activities covers it.
That makes sense.
we were struggling, because I
Yeah.
was okay with household, and they were saying, well, I read in my house, I'm like, well, personal
and then-
activities, this is reading too.
So if
like
someone
it
doesn't
could be-
have a household, so then
True.
they get caught up on that being.
That could be that, yeah,
Mhm.
so personal care is good.
Okay. In 16, so I was confused and I underlined the promotional furniture until you were explaining it.
I don't know
because
how
I
to
just don't
manage
even, I was like, I don't know what that is. So
Yeah.
I don't know, how many people are gonna spend the time to be reading our policies, but I wanna make sure that it's clear what that means or what we mean by promotional furniture. So I don't know if anyone in the community has ideas about how else to express that, because now that Tatiana explained it, I know what she's talking about,
So-
but
Is that kind of covered under the tables and tents?
Yes, I mean, I think it is, I just was trying, because I struck out chairs, I don't
Oh, I
want
see.
someone coming with 5 chairs to
Yeah.
sit on our sidewalk,
okay.
and ask people for signatures. We don't want, that would be that would be
Okay.
obstructing.
Okay.
I mean, could you leave the chairs,
About
or maybe
chair.
like chairs parentheses excluding like mobility devices or
Or you could just say mobility devices are acceptable, or something
yeah,
like that.
something like that, or I don't know if you would use ability or
You know, what I mean, like something.
not mobility, but what would the word be?
Right,
Assistive devices maybe.
Assistive is good. Assistive devices
Yeah.
or assistive
Items.
implements?
Implements. I mean,
Yeah.
Assistive. Assistive chairs. How about assistive chairs?
assistive chairs. Or devices.
So like we would say chairs excluding assistive chairs.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that works.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Okay. That's
That way
better
they
than
can't
promotional furniture.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't know what that is.
Okay.
So then can we get rid of,
We would take out promotional and we would just say tables, or I'd say chairs excluding assistive chairs, in parentheses, tables, tents.
Mhm.
And then on
Mhm.
LLD.
on LLD property? Okay, so we'll get rid of the, or other promotional furniture.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And you'll put in the and or whatever needs to be there, okay. So,
I'm wondering if we should change the dispensing products to just dispensing like items. I don't know,
That
that,
could be. I was trying to include, how do we say food? Is items still food?
well, I think keep the food, but
Okay.
like products, I don't know, that confused me when I first read it.
Okay.
so, because so you're saying like a
Yeah,
goodie
like,
bag?
yeah, I feel like,
I just wanna make sure that we're understanding what's covered under this.
mhm.
I was thinking of anything. So if someone was just like, I created the next new fun toy for kids.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass them out to all the kids.
And just
Or-
walk through the library and
Yes.
just hand them out to people,
Well,
that kind of
this
thing?
happened.
Okay.
Um,
No, I just wanna make sure that like that's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
it's just
This is
some
what we're
person wanting-
trying to stop, is that someone, and the reasoning behind it is because we don't want patrons to think that this is a library authorized
Right,
passing
right,
out of something.
Right,
So, this happened when someone was passing out snacks, and then there were little toys in there, and there was also like a blown up balloon in there, which could be a choking hazard for kids, things like that. So we
Okay.
don't want that happening.
Mhm.
So the best way to describe it, we could say items/food, if we
Mhm.
don't want
I would
products.
say
'cause products-
items.
products, to me, it sounds like you wanna sell something or
Yeah.
something, which maybe
Items,
it
I would
is, but,
switch it to items.
Okay,
And I feel like it covers more.
all right,
yeah. Okay,
done.
so circular petitions, surveys, distributing / posting literature, dispensing items / food or containing is not allowed into the building, okay. So, but then outside, if they're just on the property, they have to be 15 feet away.
Mhm.
So, I know we had a long conversation the last time with this whole within 15 feet of we talked about that whole thing.
Yes.
I wonder if, because they don't have to be just 15 feet, they have to be at least 15 feet. So maybe if we just specified,
At least 15?
maybe conducted at
Yeah.
least 15 feet away,
Okay,
so that they don't think, I have to be right at 15 feet.
that's fine.
I mean, I don't think they'll be that literal, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I
possibly
agree.
could be, so.
At least.
15 feet. But so in that case, just for my own sake, so we're saying that these things could happen as long as you're not within 15 feet of the entrance. So they
Yeah.
could just be on the property,
Yep.
handing out items, handing out
Sure.
food, handing out whatever.
They can ask
on
for
the property,
signatures, they can do
just
whatever they want.
not inside the
Yes.
building or within 15 feet of the entrances.
Yes, yes.
And should there say
Should we-
entrances of the building
entrances,
instead of
I would
entrance?
say
Since we have two
Entrances,
entrances?
because we have
Good
two.
call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Karen, you and I were both on the same
Yeah,
wavelength
I'm
there.
like, wait, we've got two.
We do have two.
Now, do we want a sentence in there about like if they are doing this 15 feet away, like it shouldn't be implied that this is endorsed by the library?
That is reflected in another policy
Do we have that in the
regarding,
patron code of conduct?
sorry?
Do we have that in the patron code of conduct? or
That's
is
what
it
we're
someplace
doing
else?
now.
Oh, this is the whole patron?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, but it's in the meeting rooms, it's in the meeting room policy about not advertising that any meeting here is endorsed by the library. We could put something in here.
Can you steal something from that one to slip in?
So
The
where we
meeting
say
room is
these
the
activities may not disrupt operations, impede people from entering or leaving, maybe not create unsafe traffic patterns on the sidewalks or parking lots, or, we'll find that language.
Or even like,
And then in the next one.
like the patrons may not be harassed, threatened, or forcibly detained by persons distributing literature or seeking signatures. So maybe just after like, may not be harassed, threatened, or yeah, I don't know, where would you put it?
So I
So
would
in
put
this-
it after these activities, because we're talking about all the activities,
Yeah.
whether it's circulating
Right.
or dispensing items, and then there's this list, they may not disrupt, impede, create, or,
Or imply,
So in
Imply.
650,
imply library endorsement.
there are in 650, which is the next one we're gonna go to, it does talk about advertisements may not be displayed or promoted in a manner to suggest library sponsorship or endorsement. Advertisements may not use the library logo. You know, like,
I like the or imply library endorsement or sponsorship.
okay,
Yeah,
Does that sound?
yeah,
yeah, that sounds
Okay,
good.
in that sentence. That makes a lot of sense, and I think that's a good.
and that's
add.
after parking lots, right?
Yep.
So or imply library, did you say sponsorship or endorsement? Okay,
yeah.
I want to have it in the right order.
Yeah, I'll do it in the order it is in the other one.
Okay. Good. I appreciate in 21 that you put, this includes having device on speakers.
Yeah.
How many times are you out and people have their phone on speakerphone having a whole
Understand that.
conversation and you can hear the other person, you're like, I don't need to hear all this. So I appreciate that. Is there anything else in here that we have questions about or that weren't edited in the draft that the director gave us that we think needs to be edited or changed at all?
I don't think so.
Okay, so then are we comfortable sending this one to the full board at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome, thank you. All right, next.
Okay,
Wait,
6:15.
can I say it? Agenda item number 6, policy 650, use of meeting space, discussion. Director Weinstein.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So this got a lot of changes because the department directors have, and I discussed making 2 of the group study rooms reservable, which means we have to change this whole policy because a lot of libraries have reservable study spaces. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 study rooms and a literacy room, 6, that are, open for the public. And we do have patrons who camp out for many, many hours in one of the rooms, conducting business or doing whatever, podcasting, I'm not sure. But they do occupy the room for quite a bit of time. So they, staff wanted a little bit of a limitation on the timing for people and to allow for others to use the room if there was time. So this policy has a completely new introduction. It's got a new title. It includes study rooms. And then we've reoriented the whole policy to be a section of reservable meeting rooms, and then self-serve or first come, first serve rooms. So A is reservable meeting rooms, and then it goes through 1 through, I don't know how many now, 7, on how and what is part of reserving a room. So number 1 tells you have to be 18 years of age. For the meeting rooms, we're talking about meeting rooms. 18 years of age, have a library card, and they have responsibilities for the room. Number 4 talks about advertisements and not using the library's logo, as we just discussed. There's also a disclaimer here. Now this was asked, our department directors have seen this disclaimer at other libraries and thought that this would be, I'm not sure how enforceable this is though, but this is in other policies of libraries that this event is not endorsed or sponsored by the Lisle Library District. And we're asking people who advertise like on social media or via flyer to have this disclaimer on there. And I don't know if we can force people to do that, but that's up for discussion. Number 5 just adds an extra sentence to be more clear. Number 6 changes minimal to basic. And then the last sentence there is that staff aren't present during their meetings, and we want to make sure that they understand that expectation. The department directors wanted number 7 specifically because we've had a number of no-shows where in these meeting rooms where they're set up pretty intricately, not just like this, but like maybe theater style, and then there's a no-show, and then they have to take it all down again. It's just time, and so it's kind of 3 strikes and you're out, hopefully. And we can talk more about it when we get to it. And then describes the room. So this meeting room A and B, as we're in right now, just there's descriptions and locations, and then talks about the Oak study room, which is just down the stairs. Here's one of the larger study rooms that is reservable. And then moving on to reservable study rooms. So these would be the 2 rooms that are immediately in the main entrance of the library. It's Maple and Ginkgo. It talks about how to reserve them, and then we get into a lot of detail. So we looked at a lot of other libraries and saw what they did, and we kind of went down the middle. So because we only have 2 rooms, we are saying reservations may be up to 2 hours in length. This can be changed. It's up to the committee. The same patron may reserve the study room up to 2 times per week, and then reservations may be made in 1-month periods, and then reservations open on the 15th of the month. And they thought that was an easy way, like half a month ahead of time. And then a reservation will be canceled within 15-minute lapses after start time. So if someone doesn't show up within 15 minutes, that's canceled, and then the room opens up for just first come, first serve. And then we would print a reservation schedule on the door, so if someone came in at 9:30 in the morning, they could see like, oh, at 11, someone's got a reservation, I need to, button up and leave. And then it describes the 2 rooms, Maple and Ginkgo, and then moves on to C, which is the first come, first serve rooms, just defines them, tells you where there are in the library, and talks about the literacy room and how it's used. And then the Oak study room appears again because it is both a reservable and a first come, first serve, and that's defined in that description. And then on D, we talk about the reservable meeting room application. There is an application to reserve these 2 larger rooms. Not a lot has changed outside of the fact that at the bottom it says special exceptions may be authorized by the LLD administration, meaning that there could be some modifications there if needed. And then I crossed out a bunch because they got moved to different spots in this policy. Under E, the new E, meeting and study room hours, we just added study rooms there to talk about, making sure you leave the room when we close for the day. And then food and beverage, we never mentioned that we have a prep kitchen in meeting room B. That is accessible for people who use this room and talk about it. And let them know like what we do allow, what we don't allow. Moving on to new G, there's just better wording here, supplies for meetings. H talks about responsibilities, that you have to follow the code of conduct. And then a violation would possibly stop someone from being able to use the room again. And then I, access to meeting and study space, it just talks about, there's really not a lot changed here. Just, there's an authorization by the LLD. And then we added study rooms that have not been reserved are open for patron use. So a room like the Oak Room, it can seat like 12 people, and 2 people who aren't related can use that room openly. It's not just like one person, this is my room, you can't come in. So that's explained. And then the rest is all struck out because it's gotten moved to other areas in the policy. So that was a lot, sorry, but we had to really redo the whole policy to make some rooms reservable, some of the study rooms reservable, and this a cleaner kind of way of reading the policy.
Does anyone have anything they want to dive in with right away with this one? Since it's a lot to take in.
Just a editing thing. Should there be a comma in that second sentence? There are reservable rooms, comma, and rooms available on a first come, first served basis.
Where are you?
I'm at the very top.
Here.
In the introductory paragraph.
Say it again.
There are reservable rooms, comma,
Oh.
and rooms available on a first come, first served basis.
No, because it's just two types of rooms. It's not a list. It's not. Like
I
if there was
overuse
3,
commas, so.
yeah, there would be one there. Except for the Oxford one. You don't like that one, Tatiana.
I do
You don't
like that.
Oh, you do like it? Oh, I like it. I do have a question actually on the first sentence there. For large and small group meeting and study, I don't know, for some reason when I'm reading that, the Lisle Library District provides space for large and small group meeting and study. I feel like meetings, I don't know if it should, it sounds funny to me, and I don't know if it sounds funny to anyone else, or if it's just my ear.
It sounds okay to me because it's either large and small group meeting or large and small group study.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's how
That's how you're reading it? Okay. That's fine. As long as everyone else is okay with it.
And then another little thing I had was the, under the meeting rooms A and B where it describes them, it says meeting rooms A and B can comfortably accommodate 40 to 45 people respectively.
yeah.
Should we say something about the capacity for both is 88 or, because I wasn't sure if that meant like
Each room.
both or,
Yeah, we can reword that. 35 people. Combine, we could say meeting rooms A and B can comfortably accommodate 40 to 45 people, and combined accommodate 80. I think it's 88 is
yeah,
our
that's what it says in the
capacity.
strike.
Does it?
part.
Okay. And combined can accommodate up to 88 people. Okay.
And then,
So I'm curious about with the reservable study rooms with what it'll look like, right on the, so you have to call, email, or visit CERC to do that. And then, so what if you walk in and you see that it's available? Can you just walk over to them and then will circulation just write it on the form and put it on the?
They'll just print out
They'll print out a new one?
They'll print out a new one.
Okay.
And we would, right now, we're in the middle of investigating new, like our events calendar, looking at new software for that.
Okay.
So most software vendors provide for like a reservation system, and we have that now, and we do the reservation rooms. But for the study rooms, which we don't reserve study rooms now,
Right.
most software programs allow for that now too. So anything we upgrade to would have something like this for the circulation staff to use, and then just print off a sheet.
And then that schedule that's posted there, will there also be like next to it to reserve this room? Like, you know, call, email, whatever,
can.
go and talk to the street,
Sure.
just so that they know how to do it. Because
Yeah.
you know, I would wonder if people would be like, oh, look it, there's a space here, maybe I'll just write my name on here, as opposed to going and
good
following
idea, yeah.
the process.
I think
So-
that's more procedure than possibly, but yeah, we
Yeah.
would do that.
I just was curious for my
Yes.
own.
Yes.
And so
Well,
now for the, like, the Maple study room, Ginkgo study room, since they're available by reservation, they have to be reserved?
No,
No.
because in there it says, when not reserved, this room may be used on a first come, first served basis.
basis.
Yes.
And they're all like that, right? If they're not reserved?
Yes.
For the study rooms?
Yes, for the
Okay.
study rooms, yes.
With the exception of this room and that room.
Yeah, because this is meeting room
Meetings.
Right.
specifically.
Mhm.
Yes. They all have that sentence on the bottom, yes it does. Okay.
Which sentence?
It says that when
Oh,
not
when not
reserved,
reserved.
this
Mhm.
room may be used on a first come, first served basis.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, I think I understand now. I was a little confused about so meeting rooms, the Oak study room is also considered a meeting room because it can hold more people.
Yes.
So
and
then it's listed under the first come, first serve if it's not being, okay.
It's in both areas, like
Yeah.
it can be reservable and it's also on a first come, first served basis.
Mhm.
That's not the meeting, okay. There's just so much in here that it's like, you know, it's like you read through it and then we have the discussion and they're like, okay, wait, let me make sure I don't have any other questions about it.
You're experiencing the bleary eyes I had when I when I had to reorient the whole policy.
Uh-huh. Any other thoughts as we're
And just remember, you'll have another shot at this at the next board meeting.
right?
So-
So because what will
Right.
happen is at the board meeting, then we'll go through it again.
Yeah.
It's like our
Any
committee's
discussion.
recommendation, and then we'll discuss, and then the whole board might say, yeah, looks great, what the committee's put forth, and other people might say, oh, no, wait, you know what, I have a question about this, or can we change it to this, and then
Mhm.
Yeah, and I
discuss
think,
it.
seeing it without all the red strike throughs
clean.
and stuff, the clean
Mhm.
version looks good. I
Mhm.
think it's easy to,
It's
to
good
follow and.
Yeah, it's good just to read it through and then pretend like you don't know anything and just read it
Uh-huh.
cold
Uh-huh.
through the clean copy.
Mhm.
Mhm. So are we thinking
Yeah.
that this one's
I
a go
think
ahead to
it's-
go to the board meeting?
I
Yeah,
think it's a
let's
go
do it.
ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right, so then, gosh, see, I did this last time too. Agenda item number 7, policy 735, donations and gifts discussion. Director Weinstein.
Okay, so again, this policy is not that old. It was last updated in 2022. But we've gotten some recent donations that made us take another look at this. And then we also have a new way to donate to the library, which is online donations that has been added to this policy. So most of this policy is pretty good to go. The only changes I made was on number 6. I added LLD under donations, and then same with under item B, I added LLD right before the word donations there, just to specify we need LLD donations. And then if we flip over to D, material donations, refers to books and videos and things that are cataloged in the library. Material, the term material, that's what it means. I added affiliate in terms of supportive, just to talk about organizations that we may collect for. We do actually, not only did we used to say Books for the Friends, but we also have books that go to like the food pantry and things like that. So I want to be more general there. And then just more clarity at the last sentence saying that donors shall check with the LLD before delivering materials. And then we got more specific at the rest of the policy, and all of this is new. So item donations, there's that word again. We're talking not about books or materials. We're talking about things like, let's say someone wanted to donate a sculpture or a painting, or give us money to buy a painting or sculpture. So that's what that's referring to here. And it also talks about, you know, like what is acceptable or not, and it needs to go through a process. It would go through the director, then through the board president, and then if it needed to go to the board, it would go to the board. And then if a plaque or something would be affixed to it, that would be via the director's authorizations, because we would work with the person and work on the plaque. And then the next item is in memoriam donation. So that's specifically, you know, if someone passes away and someone wants to either have a book or something in memoriam, it would go through that same process, but specific to it being a, you know, a tribute to somebody. And then there is item G is online and monetary donations, and it talks about how you can donate in that respect. So we now have an online donation button on our website, and it talks about how to receive a receipt. Same thing for monetary donations via, you know, cash or check. You can get a receipt from circulation. And then lastly, we also serve as a drop-off location for donations. We never had this in our policy, but we wanted it in there. We also wanted to make sure people understood that it has to go through a process before, you know, someone just drops off a box at the library.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's it.
I like that you added these other things in here because, again, as you said, we just, well, not just, you know, in January of 2022, we went over this, but these other things are definitely helpful, especially since we've had some of these things come up, right, recently, and then not having them in a policy. So, so I appreciate the addition of those to the policy, just to help us.
Makes things easier for patrons too.
Yeah. Karen, do you have anything on this one?
No, I don't think so. What was the limit? Didn't we have something in the meeting, like with the donation amount? What is that amount? Is it 10,000? Or is it, if somebody wants to give us a check?
There's no limit.
There was no limit.
They can give us $1 million.
I don't know what I was thinking. Okay.
Vanessa, do you have anything on this one?
I don't
Pretty
think so.
straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty clean.
Do we feel good about this one going to the?
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks like in the clean copy, there's just some places where there's an extra period, or extra space after periods in some of them. So if you
Okay.
want to just do like a find and replace,
Will do.
I don't really want to go and point them all out. But I
I will
can
make
see them
sure.
as I'm looking at them right now.
Okay.
I'm looking at the document right now.
Okay. Check for periods.
Check for the periods are there, it's the extra space, it's the double spacing.
When I learned how to type, it was double spacing.
Of course it was,
after a
but
few-
now it's not.
I know, it's hard to
It's
switch
just
back up.
uniformity, it's just the
Yeah.
uniformity. And formatting. So are we comfortable putting this one to the full board at our next meeting in November? Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well that was it for what we needed to do. So the last item on the agenda is to adjourn. Can I have a motion and a second?
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are adjourned at 7:54 p.m.